Chapter 2. Sources of Corporate Finance. Question 4. Distinguish between. 4 marks each. 1. Equity shares and preference shares. 1. Meaning. Equity shares are those shares which do not enjoy preferential right in regard to payment of dividend and repayment of capital. Preference shares are those shares which enjoy preferential right in regard to payment of dividend and repayment of capital. 2. Rate of dividend. Equity shareholders get dividend at a fluctuating rate depending upon the profits of the company. Preference shareholders get dividend at a fixed rate, which is fixed at the time of its issue. 3. Voting right. Equity shareholders enjoy normal voting right at general meetings of the company. They can participate in the management of the company. Preference shareholders do not enjoy normal voting right at general meetings of the company. They can vote only on those matters which affect their interest. 4. Nature of capital. Equity capital is known as risk-bearing capital or venture capital. Preference capital is a safe capital as it has stable returns. 5. Nature of investor. Those investors who are ready to take a risk invest in equity shares. They appeal to risk-bearing investors. Those investors who are not ready to take a risk invest in preference shares. They appeal to the cautious investors. 6. Return of capital. Equity share capital is not returned during the lifetime of the company, except in case of buyback. In case of redeemable preference shares, repayment is made during the lifetime of the company. 7. Face value. The face value of equity shares is low, say rupee 1 or rupee 10 per share. The face value of preference shares is relatively higher, say rupees 100. 8. Right and bonus issue. Equity shareholders are entitled to bonus shares and right shares if issued by the company. Preference shareholders are not eligible for bonus and right shares. 9. Capital appreciation. As the company prospers, the market value of equity shares rises, leading to capital appreciation. The market value of preference shares does not change, and hence, there is no capital appreciation. 10. Risk. Investment in equity shares is more risky because of fluctuating dividend and no assurance of return of capital. Investment in preference shares is less risky because of fixed rate of dividend and preference for dividend and repayment of capital. 2. Shares and debentures. 1. Meaning. A share is a part of the total share capital of a company. It is called as ownership capital. A debenture is a certificate of acknowledgement of debt taken by a company. It is called as creditorship capital. 2. Status. The holder of share is called a shareholder, and he is the owner of the company. The holder of debentures is called as debenture holder, and he is the creditor of the company. 3. Voting rights. Being owners, shareholders enjoy normal voting rights in general meeting and participate in the management of the company. Being creditors, debenture holders do not enjoy voting rights and cannot participate in the management of the company. 4. Nature. Share is a permanent capital of the company, as it is not repaid during its lifetime. Debenture is a temporary capital, as it is repaid after a specific period. 5. Return on investment. The shareholders get dividend as return on their investment. Equity shareholders receive dividend at fluctuating rate, and preference shareholders receive dividend at fixed rate. The debenture holders get a fixed rate of interest as return on their investment. They get the interest, even when the company makes losses. 6. Security. Company does not offer any security to the shareholders. It is unsecured capital. Debenture is a secured capital, as it is issued by creating a charge on company's assets. 7. Time of issue. Shares are issued in the initial or formation stage of the company. Debentures are issued at a later stage, when company owns property to offer as security. 8. Suitability. Share is a permanent capital, and hence, suitable for long-term finance. Debenture is a temporary capital, and hence, suitable for medium-term finance. 9. Position on liquidation. Shareholders rank last in the list of claimants on liquidation of a company. Debenture holders get priority over the shareholders in repayment of principal amount on liquidation of company. 3. Own capital and borrowed capital. 1. Meaning. The capital contributed by the shareholders of the company is known as own capital. The capital borrowed from creditors is known as borrowed or debt capital. 2. Sources. Own capital is collected by issue of equity shares and preference shares. Borrowed capital is collected by issue of debentures and bonds, accepting fixed deposits, loans from banks, etc. 3. Return on investment. Own capital gets dividend as return on investment. Equity shares get dividend at fluctuating rate, and preference shares get dividend at fixed rate. Borrowed capital gets interest as return on investment. Interest is paid at fixed rate as per the terms of loan. 4. Status. Those who provide own capital are owners of the company. Those who provide borrowed capital are creditors of the company. 5. Voting rights. Equity shareholders enjoy normal voting rights at the general meeting of the company. Those who provide borrowed capital do not enjoy voting rights at the general meeting. 6. Repayment of capital. Own capital is repaid only after payment of borrowed capital at the time of winding up of the company. Borrowed capital gets priority over the owned capital for repayment at the time of winding up of the company. 7. Charge on assets. Own capital is raised without creating any charge on the assets of the company. The secured debentures are issued by creating a charge on the assets of the company.